Welcome back to Why This Beer, the show where we dig into the people, stories, and experiences shaping the craft beer we love. I'm Azlan Graves from Main Street Brewing, joined as always by Darren Binnema of Neighborhood Brewing in Yellow Dog, Penticton.
Hello, everyone.
And today's guest is someone who has dedicated his career to reminding us of a simple but powerful truth. Beer is agriculture. We're joined by Eric Sannerud, a longtime voice for hops, farming, and the future of public varieties. I first came to know Eric during his time at Mighty Axe Hops, where he helped put Minnesotan-grown hops and the concept of terroir on the map. Later, he played a key role in championing USDA 074, now better known to brewers as Vista, bringing it into the public spotlight as a hop with real potential and accessibility. Now fresh off the 2025 hop harvest, Eric continues to be a passionate advocate for growers, brewers, and the connection between the land and the glass. His work sits at the intersection of farming, innovation, and storytelling, making sure we never lose sight of where beer truly begins. So let's dig into it. From terroir to Vista, from public hops to the excitement of this year's crop. This is Why This Beer with Eric Sannerud.
What an incredible intro. That's the best intro. I'm going to ask you for that and that'll be my new bio. Oh my God.
There you go.
Thank you. Well, thanks so much for joining us. Thanks for staying up past your bedtime.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I hope everyone listening to this, if it's past your bedtime, just click pause. Go to sleep. Podcast will be there in the morning.
Yeah.
Very wise.
Can you share your path into beer and agriculture, I guess? Like, not something everybody connects.
Yeah, I came to this from farming and wanting to farm. And I grew I grew vegetables for like the first thing I tried to sell for a living. And it wasn't really the right fit. And then that was in like 2012. And beer was what me and my friends drank. Craft beer is what me and my friends drank. And I was like, well, hops, we can grow those. And I fell in love with them. There's that quote. I don't know where it came from, or maybe it's just like an old traditional German saying, but like the hop kiss. And once you get kissed, you never forget. And that's usually a term for like when you get touched by them and like you rub your arm and you get the kind of scratch. They call that a hop kiss too. But anyway, it's like this thing that agriculture is certainly in my blood and my DNA from my great grandparents. But hops were the plant for me.
That's cool.
Sweet.
Yeah. And so that was in Minnesota. That was Mighty Axe?
Yeah. That became Mighty Axe Hops, and that was Minnesota. We closed up in 2019, had a bad storm. But, bigger picture, it was such an experience to get to grow hops for a living. And that taught me a whole lot. A lot of very detailed things, a lot of things that like maybe aren't so relevant, but also as I've done more of this hop work with other farmers and brewers, it's been like, maybe some of the things that I thought were irrelevant because of my scale are becoming more and more relevant as the industry changes and shifts, and certainly more relevant, the position and the challenges that Mighty Axe had as a relatively small farm in, the middle of not a great place to grow hops, with farmers who didn't really know what they were doing. Certainly when we started, we didn't know what we were doing. Yeah. Some of the challenges that we faced at Mighty Axe were like similar to what, fifth generation, incredibly talented farmers in places where hops want to grow and live are facing in the modern market space, modern hop market. So I think that's really interesting. I don't know. I've every time I talk to farmers and we get talking, I'm like, man, some of this is just like a mirror of and I never expect that. Or why would you expect that?
Yeah, like your lived experience, and yeah,
right. Well, how would that intersect with someone who like knows what they're doing, can grow citra, like can grow hops that are really good, just like I was allowed to grow citra and can grow hops that are really good. But it's interesting, yeah.
So you've made it your mission to kind of like remind people that beer is an agricultural product, which I think beer is one of those things. Like wine has done a really good job of keeping it a big part of the story of the product in your glass. Why and like how do you go about promoting that for beer?
That's like at Harvest this last week we had a couple brewers out, and then we visited a good friend of mine, Brian Zielinski, who grows a little bit of hops, has a brewery, and mostly his family does wine in the Willamette Valley of Oregon. And we talked over his very nice wine about like how much of wine sales is story, like it's primarily story, and how in beer story is like maybe top 5.
Yeah.
Like I like style, price, alcohol, top three in some order. Can art probably before story, so like maybe fifth. But it's really interesting. I wish that story was more of beer, but then also maybe not, because story seems to be like this premiumization thing, or also this thing that like it's also story is also kind of marketing, and marketing is also mostly kind of BS a lot of the time. And so it's like I have an internal tension about like, well, I wish brewers and or consumers knew or cared to know more about what went into the ingredients in their beer.
Right.
And then also at the same time, like I don't know that I need personally, Eric would love to hear about like exactly what all these ingredients were from and exactly the hop bill, like, and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But also I don't know that I need that to be the thing that is why someone at the gas station like buys hazy little thing. And like what would that world of beer look like, and would it be better? I don't know. It would be different.
Yeah. I think I have some of those frustrations sometimes when I'm trying to like sell a product, or like, you know, put a lot of effort into something like a certain recipe, and then at the same time there's part of me that's like, I love to remind myself that like what I love about beer is that it is very much a blue collar drink that's meant to like have conversations while having a few, and you know, it's up to me to overanalyze it or us to overanalyze it, you know. For a lot of people it's social lubricant, and hopefully they choose mine.
And like I think a big part of, you know, when we're using ingredients, we are cognizant of where we're getting it from. Like we choose different suppliers. Some breweries are focusing more and more on getting local ingredients. There's more and more local maltsters popping up in Canada, at least. I know there's lots in the States. So like you starting to see more of that, and I think that's because there are consumers that are interested in that too, but I think they're a lot less than they were than to some other industries, where it's like you go to the local farmers market, you can talk to the guy that, you know, grew your kale or something, but you're not always talking to the, you know, you're buying beer at the farmers market, you're not always asking, oh, where is your malt for this from, right? So it's like kind of like a two-step process, right?
I guess it's not that dissimilar from like, you know, my wife and I, we grow flowers now and sell at market. And I guess like the assumption for the people shopping is that the vegetables and produce and flowers are local, but they're not assuming that like the burger vendors' burgers are local. And honestly, in most cases it's not. And I actually think that's something that's part of beer. Like maybe beer and, you know, the general North American consumer's head lives in the hamburger stand at farmer's market versus the farmer stand at farmer's market.
That's a good story.
And again, maybe that's not good or bad exactly. I mean, I would wish that there was more ability for the like story to matter. But again, I don't want beer to be wine, so I don't know.
Still the attention there for sure.
Yeah, catch.
It might just be more, you know, I really think that this brewing is egg story is way more targeted at brewers than like necessarily trying to change how consumers make their choices. It's a lot more about influencing how brewers make their choices.
Yeah. I was gonna say like this was the first year that I actually went to like a malt facility in Alex, Alberta, and actually saw like where my malt comes from with like RAR, and like, oh yeah, this is where all of the barley and like the wheat that I buy every year, and like actually shook hands with the farmers and stuff and got to know. And normally, I mean, it seems like a big step for a brewery to like send people to go to hop selection a lot of times, and like it is definitely the romanticized portion of it. But like even malt, it can took me this long to get there to actually see a barley field.
Isn't that interesting that like I think for the general consumer, and we see that with the success of craft malt, the general consumer thinks of the malt side of beer as agriculture like way more often. Like they see it. It's like, you know, in the big macro beer commercials, there's like always a shot of like golden fields of whatever. And you know, blah blah blah. And so like that's like persisted in the idea of beer. But no one knows what hops look like, where they grow, what they're on trellises. Like no one knows any of the perennial. Nobody knows. I mean, they know like because of artwork now, like what a hop cone probably is, but outside of that, that's all they know. But then in the beer industry, craft beer, like hops are way sexier than malt. Exactly. And it's changing, it's shifting a little bit, but it's still true. And like hop selection and like going up for hop harvest is like this this like, and I'm actually not perfectly, just to be clear, I'm not entirely sure why it is, but it's like this holy grail for brewers. And again, the consumer doesn't see hop. They just, I don't know. There's something interesting there about how like consumers are like, I love barley and beer and blah blah.
Yeah.
And then brewers are like, hops are the sexiest ingredient.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They're definitely like some of the most impactful, depending on how you look at it, I guess, and
Right.
depending on the style. With the trend of IPAs, obviously, it's
Yeah.
it's the one that's swinging the
They are the
hammer in
most
the recipe.
differentiated. Like, I love my malt
Yeah.
friends, but you know, it is a lot more about, you know, consistency and true to typeness than, you know, in hops. Honestly, the breweries who care most
outliers
about
and the
true to
wild
type are the
one.
big ones.
Yeah. We should talk about some of these beers because I'm sipping through mine pretty quick here. I think this is pretty awesome when we ask guests who aren't actively working with the brewery, then it's like, hey, why don't you bring a beer that you're excited about? And this is like the most unbiased. Obviously, it's like, if you brew at this brewery, let's drink your beer. You don't.
Yeah.
And
You don't want the beer I make.
As well as like, you did really good at finding something that like we're worlds apart pretty much right now. You know, it's So we're drinking Sierra Nevada's Hazy Little Thing and the Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, which I mean, the Pale Ale undisputedly is like many people's probably inspiration or gateway into craft beer. And
best ESB in the world.
Yeah.
It is so unbelievably hoppy, for being what it is.
Yeah.
Like, I drink this beer often, especially for like, I don't drink that much beer anymore. You know, I'm part of the reason that, you know, craft beer is dying or whatever. But it's still one that we just keep around, and you forget in between them how great they are.
Yeah.
I mean, the hop character is out of this world, and the flavor and the balance is out of this world.
Yeah.
It's so dang refreshing.
It's I mean, I think it's a lot of like what got us infatuated with it, and it showcases Cascade in its truest form. I think talking about like Cascade is one of the, I don't know, I guess like benchmark hops for the Pacific Northwest kind of character. It's been around since, I mean, you probably know. How long has Cascade?
The exact date is the 70s at some point. I think it might have been 72, but someone out there knows better than I do.
Yeah, but it's a good example of like public hops and making a defining point. Can you tell us a bit more about like, public hops and how they differentiate from some of the others out there?
Yeah, I mean, Cascade, it's hard to say too much about Cascade. Like, would there be craft beer without Cascade? Maybe not. Would there be like American styles of beer or North American styles of beer without Cascade? Like, probably not. Like, this beer and Cascade were two of the big reasons that like there is IPA, like modern IPA, like contemporary, not even modern, whatever it means to be IPAs since the 75. Like, I'm not talking with the ships and the British and whatever that myth is, but like like what we think of now.
IPA as we know it,
it all starts with some amount of this beer and a lot of Cascade. And I mean, I don't know. It's, if you think about it that way, like that's
Cascade,
everything.
It being grown for so long across like so many different environments. And
it's like one of the ones that just grows kind of well everywhere too. So like, if you have a local farm near you, they probably have Cascade and it probably does okay, like at minimum. There's a lot of hops that don't do good outside the PNW. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. What's some of the like wide variances you've gotten in Cascade from, you know, like, what are your...
You've rubbed it, but yeah, I mean, it's actually insane. You know, so on the West Coast, you have some Cascade that's really pink grapefruit, like the classic note. You have some Cascade that is maybe more pine. The Cascade that in Sierra Nevada is this one from B&D, not exclusively, but much of it. What I learned about it this year is they look for Cascade that's kind of more balanced. So like, the three things that you can get out of Cascade or traditional Cascade, because we'll talk about this range, is like the pink grapefruit, like classic American citrusy hop, pine stuff, and then spice. Like a black or a white pepper spice, not, you know, green pepper, not hot pepper. It's so this Cascade is sort of all three of those things in really close, tight balance. And one of the things that I've heard people talk about who do a lot of Cascade selection or have done for a lot of Cascade selection over the years is there's a like a tickle in your nose, the back of your nose, when you found a lot of great Cascade.
The right one.
The right one, for at least what this brewery is looking for.
So it's like...
And it's just crazy. It's there.
You get
it's like
that,
it's almost a physical sensation that is not present for, every lot. So there's like, West Coast, which has one of these three things and various sort of arrangements traditionally. And then when I was growing in Minnesota, we ended up with Cascade that was very not this. I mean, I used to get into arguments with people about like, oh, your Cascade isn't that different. Like I've rubbed Cascade like that. Like, I don't know. I mean, this is Cascade, and my Cascade didn't smell like this. We ended up calling it Julius until we got a cease and desist from Dairy Queen. Which I don't know, maybe they should call Treehouse. Or whatever yeast, one of the yeast suppliers has a Julius yeast. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But that was very
Imperial,
orange.
I believe.
Yeah. It was really orange and sweet and juicy. You used it, Azlan.
Yeah, it was like it was more the like orange candy almost, or
It was cool and different, and primarily a terroir expression, and of course farming practices. And we waited a little later in the window to get it, but it's not like this was any dramatically different harvest window. So I'm beginning more and more to think that terroir and farming practices had more to do with it than I did before. And then going out to the East Coast, the Cascade on the East Coast does tend to be more Midwest. Like there's not as much pine or classic American citrus, but it can be a little peachy. It can be, I think it tends to be a little darker. One of my words for hops is bright or dark or sweet or dry or complex or clean is this thing that I do, and they tend to be darker. But I have rubbed a lot of Cascade from a lot of places, and one of the consistent things is but it's kind of inconsistent. Like it's consistently inconsistent. The regions seem to have a lot of influence on Cascade, and maybe that's another part, like another quiver in its arrow. The other thing I think about a lot is like I categorize hops. They're bad, good, great, special, and then there's like the Hall of Fame or retired, and like obviously Cascade.
God tier,
Like it doesn't belong in any of those four categories. Like it's earned Hall of Fame. It is beyond the categorization. And maybe this is one more feather in that cap of Hall of Fame, is like this hop expresses and is useful like at the widest possible geography.
I think
same thing with New Zealand Cascade, right?
I was gonna say,
oh my God, New Zealand.
Like, didn't I think Treehouse last year actually released a beer that was all focused on just Cascade in different applications, and I thought that was like a really, I don't know, that's a beer I want to try.
Hey, quick shout out to our friends at Hops Connect Canada. They've been hooking up brewers with quality hops for over a decade.
Yeah, started on a farm in Pemberton, and they got warehouses across BC, Ontario, and Quebec. Super reliable, and they actually get what brewers need.
They've got all the classics: Citra, Mosaic, Amarillo, Eldorado, Cascade. The list goes on, with lot selection starting at just 100 kilos.
But what we've really been digging lately is their liquid hop lineup. Total brew day game changers.
Yeah, stuff like Flex for bittering without the wort loss, Incognito for whirlpool flavor without the mess, and Spectrum for dry hopping with no hop creep.
I'm also a big fan of Hop 8 Anti-Foam. Less foam, higher tank fills. That's a win.
And if you're chasing that haze, Hop Haze keeps it locked in for up to 12 months. No flavor impact, just stable haze.
They've even got a brewing calculator on their site to show you just how much time and margin you can save. Super handy when you're dialing things in.
So yeah, if you're brewing in Canada, check out Hops Connect.
Solid people, solid hops. Hops Connect Canada, your partner in craft.
Well, we kind of waxed poetic on Cascade, but let's circle back on public hops.
Yeah.
For someone like myself, who's like a pretty big user of like proprietary, growing program hops, what's your pitch for public hops, Cascade, and other, like what are some other great hops? We kind of chatted a bit about some hops before we got on the podcast as well, but yeah, like why should people care about public hops?
So it's incredibly important to me personally that we have independent hop farms in North America. There's like deep values reasons for that. There's deep moral reasons for that. There's also like practical dollar and cents reasons for that. Public hops provide a closest to a free market opportunity as we have in hops, and that delivers generally more efficient outcomes for both the growers and brewers. It provides a lesser role for the people in the middle, though they're so incredibly important in the distribution of public hops, and there are plenty of merchants who prioritize public hops and do that in a really proactive, beneficial way. Public hops are key to like future creativity and innovation in the industry, because now I'm going to be slightly negative maybe, but just like, my thought experiment is, let's say Eric is the only hop company in the world. Like, well, Eric gets to decide what the next beer flavors are. Eric gets to decide how much, any grower gets to grow it, and how much a brewer has to pay me to get that flavor. And we're not like, I don't know, we're not less than like 5 steps from that. We're closer to 2 than 0 than 1, but like that 2 is going to have a similar effect as 1 when it comes to be that 2 dominate the market, and they already sort of do. So I think that's public hops are also kind of punk in that way. They're a little irreverent. Honestly, like public hops are way cooler than proprietary varieties because they're like not cool, right? They're not hype. They're not like what everybody knows. Like if you're talking about Crystal, we'll go on about Crystal in a second. I don't want to lose the thread of the question, Darren, but like Crystal's one of the coolest hops. It's just one of the coolest hops. It's not in the Hall of Fame. It's probably more of a great than a special hop. To go back to the earlier, like I'm not saying it's like the best thing that's ever existed. But
I think it's also like in a era where like everybody's kind of got their like their recipe for their core product or something, and like there's so many breweries out there. If everybody is using one of the classic
Eric's
3 Citra, Simcoe, Mosaic. You need to you could still use that, but differentiate it a bit by adding in.
Yeah, Lord knows they're in this beer. I mean, they're in hazy little thing, along with a bunch of Crystal. So
and like
I think,
I feel like that's something that like I've been wanting a little bit more in my own recipe development personally, is just like playing around with like some of these other hops, just to differentiate. Maybe my hot side edition my Whirlpool edition is gonna be something else, and then all of a sudden I'm able to express a different side of whatever that very impactful.
I mean, there's a lot of different colors to paint with when a brewer is able to go off of multiple sales sheets or multiple ownership styles, and that's not a slight on anyone who's in hop breeding knows that each breeder and breeding program is its own sort of ecosystem. They could all start with the same parents, and then 2 cycles of breeding later end up with incredibly different results. The genetic diversity in hops and that what they can express, especially aromatically, is dramatic. And so it's even like this thing where I see breweries that might be like sort of like what's the term for it, but like a solo shop. There's a better word I can't think of. Whether there's like a one company shop, like all their hops come from one company, and you can get public hops from a company and their private hops from that company. That's all fine, but just like even if you're listening to this and something like that applies to you, like at least just buy proprietary hops from different breeding companies, because you were just cutting off your arm for I don't know whatever reason. Like just at least if you're going to buy proprietary hops, like buy from multiple different breeders. Like there is so much diversity in this plant, and there is just no shot that like all of us using the same 5-ish hops for all the hazy IPAs is the outcome that's maximizing like flavor and appreciation. I mean, it's certainly the outcome that seems like Azlan, you're talking about this, but like one thing that I'm very fascinated by right now is that we know the ballpark of flavors that brewers want. Like I call those hops bright, sweet, and clean. Other people talk about tropical, fruity, aroma forward, oils over alphas. There's all these different things that are sort of talking about this idea of like defining what craft brewers want from hops. And like honestly, we know now. And most of that ballpark is full. Like there's some place like melon flavor I think is lacking, and berry can be hard to find. And as when we were talking, there's a hop you use that you like that is dank and berry, and like that's a pretty unique combo. So I'm not saying there's not little like pockets in this ballpark, but that ballpark, like we just know now, like you can smell a hop experimental blah 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 from blah blah blah, and it's like, I don't know, man. Or like, yeah, sure, that smells great, it smells amazing, even, but like, okay, there's 50 hops on the market that smell amazing and only 10 of them get purchased. I'm really interested in what does that mean as we go forward in hop breeding, and I really think we're going to go back to, all right, now we got to deliver the ballpark flavors that you all like, consumers like, ultimately, but with better like efficiency, agronomics.
I feel like it's also... Oh, go ahead, Darren.
Sorry. No, I just put like so many ideas into like 5 minutes.
I think you're right about that though too. It's like, it's tough. I'm sure for like a hop breeding program is trying to go for a certain goal too. Like they want good agronomics for the hops, but then they also, if it's like a flavor or like an aroma hop, they're looking for a certain, like those flavors like you talked about, like clean, bright, and what was the other one? Clean, bright, and
sweet.
Yeah. And but then like our flavor or our profiles are going to change, and that program is so long. It's like it's right, like you said, it's almost like more thing. Dictating how flavors are coming, less than it is like keeping up with trends, right? So that's a good point of like, oh, like a hop will come out, people will use it because it's new and it'll drive flavor. Whereas like if you're getting hops from only one supplier, like you're just going to be locked into like essentially the company line of like, this is the new hop and we're using it now, everyone's using it, and it's like, okay, if you can mix in some like public hops as well,
what do you think varieties of breeding? There's so many breeding programs. Like I think people saw that as a way to go ahead, Azlan.
Sorry, I was gonna say I think it's also like, you get to a certain point with I've found this with a lot of my recipes, and this is why I'm trying to like go back is like and see what hops I'm putting in where, is just it like turns into like generic Dole fruit cup. Everything does. And you're just like, and I'm just like, well, no, I want more like, I want more, I don't know, say pineapple out of this, and how am I going to trend in that direction? And that's by like exploring the variance and the usage on whether it's hot side or dry hopping, or what points I'm using those hops, and then you can really find, you find your lot, you find your farmer, your terroir within. We were just talking about Cascade. It's like there's such a huge variety of what Cascade can be, in such a great way. Like I wish I could just like be like, okay, I'm gonna brew a hazy IPA with Cascade. I'm gonna brew a like dank West Coast. I'm gonna brew like, I could like, possibilities are endless just within that. So, and then that's what also makes your beer stand out, is when it has a defined path, I think, in that sense too.
But there's so much opportunity. There's so much variety in hops. Even within like the 5 or whatever we all use all the time, like there's variety. People are aware of that. And one thing that's been very interesting is just like, even within the big 5, like, the majority of North American acreage is in one of the 3 states that grow hops at a commercial scale. The vast majority. And so like there's even just distinction to be found of like not only farms within the Yakima Valley in Washington, but to diversify into farms in Idaho or Oregon that are tiny in size compared to Yakima production. Like, but they're all growing. All of them grow Citra. All of them grow Mosaic. Those are the 2 biggest hops, obviously, for at least craft brewer use. Like, even just, I'm a brewery. I use a lot of Citra. Like, maybe just like get samples from each of the 3 states, to say nothing of different farm differences. Just 3 states, and maybe you'll find one of the states is more what you're looking for, or has a little tingle in the back of your nose, that like feels special to you, and like whatever it is.
That's the aha moment.
There's like, and I'll just say to that point, like we were talking about, like I was talking about, like selection as like this holy grail thing. You do not have to go to the P&W, to hop farms, to, well, whether it's select, but just to like have influence over what lot you're getting. I mean, there's way too many hops on the market still, which means you as a brewer, you emailing any supplier and being like, can I get samples of your variety XYZ, or like the stuff from the state? Like they would love to do that. They want you to like them better right now, because they need more people to like them, to buy hops from them. And you have more leverage than you've had in a long time. And also, these are people who also care a lot about hops, and like probably have similar ideas about like, oh my God, I've been waiting for someone to ask me about my blah, blah, blah hop grown in Idaho. like, like it's really cool. Like it has these special values and these distinct things, and they can tell you all about it. Just like I just went on and on about Cascade and the different growing regions. I think there's I don't know, there's just so much that I feel like brewers leave on the table when it comes to varieties or terroir differences or breeding program diversity, or just also we have great beer still. So like I don't know, do they even need to do that? Like could brewers just like continue to just like do the easy way of shopping for hops? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about it before too on this podcast where it's like selecting for hops. I know that when we're selecting for our hops for our brewery, we're always looking for certain things for each variety. We're not just looking for like every hop to taste like big citrus tropical, right? Like if you
go in there with a target for each one, that's
like
very good.
Select for 5 hops and they're all citrus tropical. It's like that doesn't make sense. Yeah. So like for Cascade, we're selecting kind of more like what you described with Sierra Nevada, where it's like a little bit of pine, a little bit of grapefruit. But we've had samples on the table where it's like crazy lemon lime, kind of like bright, or like sounds like your like orange kind of thing. So like if you're looking for those hops, like you can get them. They're out there. You just have to like maybe ask your supplier for ones that have come through sensory. So like every lot, like lots of the suppliers will do sensory on these and get notes for you. So you don't even have to do
and then you're just filtering your own like personal bias in like a good way. Like it's kind of already self-geared towards like, okay, these are generally what we've hit.
So
otherwise it can feel very daunting if you're going into like
but it's cool. Like you said, there is hops out there that like it's not like all the best lots get selected and then it's just like crumbs for the rest of everyone else, right? Like there's lots of good
quality across the board is insane. Like I said earlier, bad, good, great, special hops. Like there's so few bad hops in the market. You'd almost have to go out of your way to find them. And there's very few like bad varieties. Like they just don't release bad varieties anymore because they really are not going to make any money. Like you can release a great or even a special variety and it can flop market side. But just like to brewers listening to this who feel like they're too small or like not important enough or like are never going to get invited to selection. First of all, I think that is just like the construction of the industry that you have to be big or cool or contracted to select. That is not true. There are so many different suppliers. There's a superfluous amount of hops. There are people who will serve you well and take care of you and treat you nice, as if you were big, cool, or contracted, even if you're none of those three things. And you can really get into your hop sourcing game. Let's not call it selection. You're not at the table with all the lots that are totally available, but guess what? Everybody has like 5 at least lots on spot of these varieties. You don't have to select before everyone, or when you select, they're like the Darren, the idea of like the crumbs. Sure, Sierra Nevada got the varieties they wanted of like most of the variety, like the lots they wanted most of the varieties, but that doesn't mean that was the lot you needed or you wanted. We just talked about how like their Cascade preferences don't even match the average craft brewer's Cascade preferences. But there's lots of hops out there, and the sort of landscape of access to selection. I don't want to use that word because it implies a lot of things, but like to sourcing or choice in sourcing is really high right now.
Do you think when you're looking into selecting or sourcing,
let's stick with that one. I like this.
And you're looking into a farm, what can the farmer do to make sure that like shelf life is good for that year, like pelletizing, those kind of things? Like, because I think sometimes as a small grower that can be a big jump, I guess, to
very hard. So
a lot of infrastructure.
Very hard. Pellet quality is one of the hardest things to accomplish consistently without the like multi-million-dollar purpose-built facilities that commercial pelleters have, of which there are many, and there are many smaller independent growers who have their crop processed pelleted by these merchants or by these processors, and that's a really important service that they offer. And just so you know, like at a commercial scale, pelleting is somewhere between 50 cents and $1 a pound of like cost.
Oh wow!
And this is a really interesting.
Big.
It's big, but also small. Like I don't know. A hop is $10-ish a pound that you pay. So like
that's true, I guess. I
mean, 10% is a lot, but that's like pelleting.
That's less than we pay for the can.
Right. So it's an interesting like I think it's not a lot, but I think about it as not a lot, especially I think most brewers
Depends
are
on
used
your
to paying
scale,
like
yeah.
$15 a pound on average for hops, which is a whole different thing we could get into. But I think for smaller farms who are doing their own pelleting or not large enough to hit the minimum volumes for these commercial pellet mills, it can be really hard to hit pellet quality. But it's not impossible by any means. It's way more about how you treat and manage your like machine that is not the ideal pelleting machine. And I've had wonderful pellets out of people running with like things that were meant to like turn alfalfa into pelleted rabbit food, right?
Yeah.
It's one of the cool places where art happens in this process, and where like skill and talent and like the interplay of like a operator and a machine.
Yeah.
I think that you can find well processed hops sort of from the 11-pound scale to 11 million.
You ever feel like you've got everything dialed in except fermentation?
Oh, yeah. If your yeast isn't consistent, the whole batch can go sideways.
That's why we've been checking out Yeast Canada Innovations. They're Canadian owned, brewer focused, and they get what you need: reliable strains, solid flavor, and real support when things get weird.
And shipping is smooth. They've partnered with Hops Connect, so your yeast comes from the same warehouse, BC, Ontario, or Quebec, right with your hops.
Even better, if you ship together, your yeast ships for free.
And they're not charging premium prices either. The pricing is super approachable, which means more budget for the fun stuff, like more beer.
Here's the kicker. If you're listening to this podcast, you can get 5% off your first order at yeastcanada.com. Just hit up their team for the code.
Yeast Canada Innovations. Let's elevate your craft.
It's like a brewer with a small canning line. You can actually make really good
you
beer,
can can it
packaged
pretty
good
good if
beer
you're,
with
like, tight.
low DO, and like your loss will be terrible on a Sam's, but you can package a lot of really good beer that way. With attention to detail. With no attention to detail, then it's like
you're shot.
It's gonna be a struggle, right? And if you're shooting yourself in the foot, that's tough. But
talk to brewers a lot about sourcing and like just pellet quality analysis. This is regardless of what the pellet smells like, whether you're using descriptive analysis, like i.e. it smells like pineapple, or it's bright, sweet, and clean. Like, just how is the pellet quality? And that's one thing that I don't see a lot of education around, and partly it's because I think pellet quality across the board has like risen dramatically. There used to be just like bad commercial pellets, and that is very rare at this point. But also just it is still out there, and especially for brewers who are buying on the secondary market, like you like really have to know what you're doing. And just every brewer, like anytime you open a new bag, there's a smell test, there's a look at it test, because like you can't take it out of your beer. And just like taking 30 seconds for every bag is an enormous opportunity just to be like, nope, this is not right. Something's not right here. This was like maybe in between pellet runs, in between varieties, and there's like, these are all burnt. Just like, just stop. Go get another bag from the fridge. Hopefully you have. And then like talk to your supplier. And again, there's a lot of hops and they really want your business. They ought to just replace that for free. Probably no questions asked, but maybe a couple of questions, because they might want to know, like, for them and their process, like, what was this? What was the lot number?
Yeah.
Like, let's make sure we go back and find.
I had a couple situations with pellets years ago where it was what looked like little strings of cardboard that were in the pellet, like section of the I guess it'd be
could have been from the bale.
Could have been from the bale. Could have been like the jute like line that's holding it up.
Yeah.
But it was it was turned into a very funny conversation back and forth.
It's probably that doesn't matter at all, and like no difference about anything. But there's also like the standard of like what do you want me to do as a brewer? Like, just I'm not going to put this. I'm not happy with this. The thing that
now dry hopped with cardboard.
Coconut. Hey, coconut. People like coconut.
Well, I want to hear more about this Vista. Like, is that something that you were championing, Vista hops? And I haven't used it a lot, but I've heard other brewers using it in lagers and other things. So I'm curious to hear your experience with it.
Literally unprompted last Sunday, had somebody come up to me and was like, "Man, that IPA you made, It was the pink label. It was like my first IPA I actually liked, and it was Vista and 682. I like looked it up earlier today. I was like, oh wow, yeah.
I
Two
don't know.
big boys.
Vista is a great hop. Special is like it's like I'm on a curve here. Special you got to really get to. So it's also good hops are no slant. Like people are like, haha, it's a good hop. Yeah, it's a good hop. Like, what do you want? Like, it will make good beer. It'll make great beer. Like, there's not like a correlation there exactly. It's just qualities. But yeah, Vista's a great hop. Vista, which this is not to say all Vista is this way, but like Washington grown Vista, which is really who got to set the standard, is very melony. Which I know I mentioned earlier in the ballpark of hop flavors, melon is under represented, and Vista's maybe the best source for melon flavor. Mandarina, Bavaria, inconsistency, lack of intensity. I don't know. Vista, especially Washington Vista, is that way. I think that Vista is not intense enough to carry a IPA by its own, by itself, which is part of what keeps it out of the special category. And also, we shouldn't be making single hop beers just in general, but like it is one measuring stick of a hop variety. It grows quite well. And
how did you get started with it? Because I know you were really pioneering a lot of the
I used to grow it when it was 074, and I really liked it when it was 074. It was one of the it was probably the most interesting hop that we grew, which was all Publix, because if you're not able to access a licensing agreement from an owner of proprietary, the Publix are your only choices. So another reason to support some amount of Publix is like it's a access or justice thing, depending how you want to define it. Especially for brewers in Canada. I do not believe there's any proprietaries grown in Canada. And so Canadian growers of hops are like, just like me in Minnesota, like, here's a bunch of Publix. Like, good luck. And Vista's a great piece for that, because Vista's one of the more intense public hops, aromatically more modern aromatic intensity that has ever been released. Vera is, I think, a step ahead of it on intensity. But
Vera was just named this year,
just released. Yeah. Vera's more like peachy, really cool. Unfortunate the Picho ring beer 1019, which is
Dulcita.
Was that 10? Yeah, that's right. Unfortunate that both of those peach hops were at the same time, and Dulcita is more peachy than Vera.
Must say Dulcita is like, it's like peach rings, like it's like never seen the fruit. It's like for Canadian listeners, it's the like Tim Hortons peach drink.
It's like only fake peach here.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't know if that's the Vista pitch, but like the story of it is I really enjoyed the growing it, and I was in between things when it got named, and I was like, well, I still believe this firmly, that the biggest hole in the public program is marketing. That's the biggest hole for every program, is marketing. You know, the big ones are the big ones. They have the ability, the market control, the money to say like, this is the next big thing. It smells like unicorn tears and bubblegum and like, baby's dreams. Like, they have the marketing machine, and like whether or not they actually do is one separate thing. And how much the power of suggestion of powerful marketing is a whole other thing. Like, this is not unique to hops, obviously.
No.
The public program's challenge is telling its story of its hops. There's a lot of storytelling in hops, not a lot of storytelling in beer. We were talking about earlier. Very interesting there. Hops are, for craft brewers, y'all are being sold stories all the time. Degrees of truth in those stories, degrees of reality, but story is why you buy hops, or relationship with your sales rep. Maybe price, but it doesn't feel like price, because you can get as good or better hops for less price than brewers expect good or better hops to cost. So it can't be priced. But I do think that Vista is one that every brewer should use and explore. It is going to be available at almost every supplier, including your small local guy. And it's Vista or Vera, or both of those, are like very much the future of public breeding, and represent a probable belated focus on aroma from the public breeding program. And to the ballpark analogy, both of them are in the ballpark, where you can make a good, modern, contemporary, customer expectation meeting IPA using those hops. And that's the bar. Just to that point again, like, there's a bar where hops have to meet, they have to hit the ballpark. They have to be intense enough. They have to be like at least good and in that ballpark. And then from there on, it's like you must be this tall to ride the ride.
Yeah.
Beyond that, it's marketing, storytelling, market capture, market reach, other things that are totally disconnected from the plant's performance itself, which is an interesting and very contemporary reality for the hop market. It used to be hops were on merit. Citra became Citra on merit. Nowadays, it's on marketing and relationships and all this stuff.
Yeah, you coming fresh off harvest, I wasn't able to go this year, and thanks for the invite very much.
Anyone who's listening, if you want to go to harvest and no one has asked you, you're like the last person on the kickball team,
reach out to Eric. He's more than happy to have you.
I will happily connect you to farms in whatever state, and people will be happy to see you.
Yeah,
nice.
But what got you really excited about this year, out there? Is there any surprise varieties? Anything
so
fresh
I was
from
just
the
in
field?
Oregon. I was just in Oregon, and Yakima is still harvesting, and Idaho is still harvesting. Oregon goes first because they're further south. Hops mature sooner. Triumph from Oregon. Crosby's grow a little bit of it, and it might be the only Triumph in Oregon left. And it was one of my favorite things I rubbed there. Every year I rub Oregon Crystal, and I'm just like, what is wrong with this market?
We kind of skipped over it because we talked about it at the beginning. But Hazy Little Thing, the other beer on here,
should we? So Hazy Little Thing.
Let's divulge a little bit there. Yeah,
easily. So Darren, you talked about this beer. This is really nice for a beer that I can get everywhere, and I think that there's a number of beers that we can get everywhere that because they're ubiquitous in that way, the specialness is different, and it's Hazy Little Thing is great. There was a good period of time where it was the best-selling beer by volume in America for a long time when it first came out.
Yeah.
Which is why they expanded into Little Hazy Thing and Big Little Thing and all this, the family brand thing.
Yeah.
But it's great. It has a lot of different hops in it. One of the things that big brewers do, and I'm not saying this is why Sierra does it, I'm not putting these words in their mouth, they haven't told me this, but if you look at what big craft brewers do in their IPAs, there's 5 to 7 varieties. That is mitigating risk. That is diversifying portfolio. And all of the big brewers see very, very clearly that if there's 1 or 2 hop suppliers, their cost of ingredients are going to skyrocket, and it's going to fuck their business, screw over their business.
Yeah.
So when you hear Matt Brindleson from Firestone Walker on a podcast and someone asks him what your favorite hop is or blah, 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 there will always be at least 1 or 2 publics, because whether he's doing that on purpose or not, he is aware of the dynamics in the marketplace and how bad it would be for the brewery that he represents if there were 1 or 2 suppliers. And I think that more craft brewers would be wise to, even if you're a 500 barrel a year, Harmony's barrels, a year brewery, a small brewery, you'll be just as screwed, if not more, than Sierra Nevada or Firestone Walker if hops become extremely monopolized business. But anyway, buy some public hops to diversify your sourcing. Hazy Little Thing is delicious. I always talk about it as the best beer you can get at every airport. It's the airport beer that you're $18. You want fine.
Sure. Yeah.
This is airport beer.
Don't take a chance at the airport for price. It's gonna be good. Yeah.
Just have it, and it's good, and it's, what is it? Is it 6.7?
Yeah, 6.7%.
Right in the sweet spot.
But it has features crystals. What you're telling me?
It has
with
some other lot of Oregon crystal in it.
Other things. I think it's got Citra and Galaxy and.
Yeah, there's a list on their website, I believe, that I would not commit to being accurate. As you all who have breweries know, your website is not perfectly accurate. It's not high
Definitely
on the
not
list
up
of a
to date.
brewer.
Correct.
That's up to date. It is accurate, but maybe old. Oregon Crystal specifically is on the list of hops that. So we talked earlier. People talk what someone told me that brewers talk about it as MSG in their IPAs, where they can't stop using it. It's 10 to 20% of the hop bill. I'm not talking about Crystal First hazies that will not create a beer that consumers find acceptably hazy. But it has this enormous flavor impact that is sort of, once you get it, you can't not use it. I would say that Crystal is Oregon Crystal is extremely bright. It is so bright. It's a hop that I like to talk about when you rub it, just puts a smile on your face. Like there's like endorphin rush with this hop. And it's one of my favorite. Every time I go out there, I'm just like, yep, wow. Like what? Like wow.
Yeah.
Why is
And,
this
like,
a hop that
do you feel
people-
it's pretty consistent? Like,
it's been 3 years
around-
now, and every time it's like, yep.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I'm rubbing it from like the same farms.
Yeah.
But that is in and of itself like a testament to the farm's quality, like delivering consistency on this agricultural product. But yeah, the Triumph from Crosby, the Crystal from B&D, specifically, I did really like this year's batch of Mackenzie and 102, but I work for those farms, and so I'm very familiar with those hops. And
yeah,
you know me well, Azlan, which is just like, look, Mackenzie's a good hop, 102 is a special hop, and I would say that if I was paid to work with these farmers or not, that is part of how I exist in this space. Other hops that I liked, I mean, there were quite a few. I had some Oregon Azaka that Crosby is selling from Goshi Farms, and I was like, well, this is amazing. It was really cool. It was very, very like perfumey.
Azaka is a hop I haven't like revisited in a while.
I know, it's like
that
a
used
hop
to be
that
my
we all
favorite.
kind of knew.
Like,
and
Yeah.
I don't know. I think those are the big ones that stood out. I have my notebook somewhere.
What's
but
102? Let's talk about
102 is so West Coast Hop Breeding is a farmer-owned breeding program. 5 farms in Oregon. I know we talked a lot about public hops, and you positioned me as this champion of public hops, Azlan, and that's true.
that.
I do. I really try to tell the story and talk to people like Darren, who maybe they should do some more Vista. But I think, to me, the reason for public is, there's like this like anti-corporate, anti-capital, whatever streak to that, which I think is valuable and part of who I am. But there's also like, public hops are very good for independent farmers, but public hops are also just like melting in the marketplace. And so if you're an independent farm who wants to stay independent, you grow public hops if you can have a market for them. You can't just grow them be like, I believe in public, and I'm just gonna like tank my farm growing Vista that no one buys, which Vista, by the way, is selling really well. I shouldn't have even used that hop variety. Triumph that no one buys. Poor hop. But like, if you're a independent farm wanting to remain independent, one of the choices you're going to make, given you have the resources, is doing your own breeding or participating in a breeding program, or like somehow doing that. So like, we see that with what is now called Latitude 46, which was American Dwarf Hop Association all sorts of years ago. We see that with West Coast Hop Breeding. We see that with Crosby Hops breeding program. They had their breeding programs, advanced lines, CBC this year. Alani, Eldorado, these are all Amarillo. These are independent farmer-owned proprietary varieties. And so it's not so much public versus proprietary. It's really ownership model. And there's this spectrum of like if Eric's the only hop company and I have my own breeding program, like I'm just printing my own money, and maybe I'm extremely like cognizant of that, and I'm trying to be in good faith as possible. And also I don't give the benefit of the doubt on acting in good faith anymore, because I know plenty of stories that are, I don't know, legally worth sharing or not, but like, just like, no, like the benefit of the doubt is gone. These are private companies operating to their own benefit, which is completely legal, and honestly, in this state of the world, like questionably moral. And that's not for this podcast, but I do think that it's a reasonable choice for a lot of farms who want to maintain independence to be like, I'm going to do my own breeding, or like license my own varieties from a different breeding program. And so from Eric's standpoint of like being a champion of public, that is because I'm a champion and I really believe in independent family farms in the hop market, in the hop industry. And for a lot of them, the reasonable choices, I have a contract for one of the big 5 hops from one of the big owners of those hops. I breed my own and I grow publics when I can get the contracts for them. And I have this sort of diversified risk approach because I want to keep farming hops. And so I'm going to keep farming hops. I'm going to make the choices that are most logical for me to keep farming hops. And honestly, for some farms, I'm 100% one company. I'm just going in with them. And that's also a choice. So I don't want to like this to come off as like a judgment on choices farms are making about staying in business or growing hops. Farming in the economic system we live in is like an inherently disadvantaged position. And family farms need to make choices for themselves. But I am here to stand up for public and independent farmer-owned proprietary hops.
yeah, it seems like there's so many great hop varieties coming out, and like
Unlimited, man.
it's pretty nonstop, and in a lot of ways too. The variety, like it seems like if I miss the mark on somebody's hop named, whatever, I can get that flavor profile from another hop over here, and like there's quite a bit of option out there. It's nice as a brewer right now.
Yeah, I mean, we are still living in the golden age of hops. It can
be a little tricky doing the brokerage point over the border, but once you do it once, you get it figured out.
Yeah, I do think that we're still in the golden age of hops. Like, I know the market for hops and a beer is like not what it was 5 years ago, but the hop market is still overwhelmed with options and choices, and there is still enough incentive to justify investment in new varieties or new products. And I do hope brewers continue to enjoy and make the most out of this era, because it won't last forever. Like, something will happen. I mean, I think it is coming to an end. Insofar as like new things that are brand new, flashy, whatever. We did mention this earlier, but just like breeding programs are going to start to shift from this is the next new, sexiest, best smelling hop you've ever experienced to this is a flavor profile that you know and love and your customers accept in a more efficient package, more efficient genetics, that now instead of $15 a pound, we can deliver a similar flavor and aroma impact, beer impact for $12 a pound or $10 a pound.
You mean pellet blends?
Well, I don't know about pellet blends. That term seems to be firmly rejected by brewers overall. I wish that brewers are more into that, because it would actually loosen up some of the market issues, and like there's probably nothing wrong with them. Yeah, you can use pellet blends for evil, but in general, people can be motivated by positive things instead of just long inventory and trying to sell it to you guys. But it's going to be very interesting to see, and we're already seeing that shift. Every new hop that gets named, especially at a bigger scale, like part of the story is why it was named, is agronomics and sustainability, and the S word has reached hops like 10 years after it was everywhere in the market and like overall consumer markets. And I don't know write about this in the next hop notes, but just like sustainability in hops is a lot more than just calling a hop sustainable. Like, okay, we're all past that. The greenwashing is coming for hops. It's arrived. But there's like very specific ways in which a hop can be more actually like greener or like less impact. And if you're someone who's marketing a hop variety, you're just going to call it sustainable, because at this point, it's free. No one is going to check you. No one knows. But I do think that's where the next messaging system's going to be for new varieties and new releases, versus it's the best new smelling thing. Like, it's like, hey, this is like variety that you already know and love, but better yielding or whatever, which hasn't worked, by the way, in beer. We all still buy Hallertau middle fruit, even though it's like bad, like agronomically. Everyone still needs sots
too, right?
Sots and all the damn things, and it's like 2% alpha, and it's a drought, and they can't irrigate, and like all these things. Which, by the way, I don't know that I actually think that we should move from sots, because like what would happen to check hop growing and all that stuff. Which Azlan, you were on the trip. Were you on that trip, Darren? I listened to the podcast.
Darren was on the trip. Darren was on the trip before me, and then
then you came. But it's like we can't. Also, like, haha, we're buying like 2% alpha sots, and also like that's significant livelihoods of a significant and important hop growing region. And should we move to sots? And like culture and like it's enormously important thing.
I'm
It'd
hoping
be like
that,
saying like we should stop eating corn tortillas. It's like, what the fuck? What? So there's like just like to the point of like, should beer be sold more on story versus closer to wine or not? There's a lot of trade-offs here. I'm not advocating a particular way, but just that people have their heads on straight.
I think there was a lot, and you kind of echoed this as well, Darren, when you were on the trip, but there's a lot of like really neat varieties coming out of Czech that are specifically more agronomical, but they're just like not really available here. And
I mean, the demand for these is not good.
Exactly. And
yeah,
so like everybody wants true sots.
Yep.
So they're kind of like begrudgingly still growing true sots while
They're
slowly
really
trying
just
to
like
transition people to other
yeah.
varieties.
They're trying to grow the next Saz. Like there's not like it's not a big mystery, and eventually they'll get one that tastes pretty much the same, and that will be the new Saz.
Yeah, but if it's got a new name, y'all aren't going to accept it. I mean, that's the thing.
They'll have to rename it. They'll just like, this is Sats now. Like they'll like.
I mean, I'm waiting for someone to do that, honestly, because it's like, so like Cascade.
That has to be the end goal. Like there's no other way it's gonna be. Like all the new like proprietary names like Saz Shine, Saz whatever, and you know that it's just like they wouldn't even trial it if it didn't have Sats in the name.
Yeah.
And then eventually, like they'll find something that has good drought resistance that can grow when, the Czech Republic gets to 40 degrees for a week, which it never used to do, and now it does, right? So it will have to do, and it's going to happen all over the world, like truly, with climate change, like it's going to have to happen.
BC's going to be the best place to grow hops in like 10 years or whatever.
Yeah, pretty soon. Yeah. I know. Too bad you can't afford to buy any land here to grow hops.
Yeah. It's a bit of a roller coaster seeing all the different sides of it, hearing it, and
as brewers, you get like the marketing emails from everyone. Like Azlan, I know you're on my list, so like you see what Eric is saying. You got to be on every company's list once you got that award. Like everyone's like, send this person emails. So like you get to see all the different stories that people are trying to tell and sort of compete with. And I don't know, my hope for you or brewers is just that like you take in these stories and sort of consider like the perspective by which they're being shared and the source, just be a little critical about, okay, again, this passes the no pun intended, the sniff test. This company wants this to be true, but like I can figure out if it's true for me and my brewery, independently of how much they want it to be true.
I like brewers too, at the end of the day, just like really need to lean on sensory. Like, we talked about other like sexy hop brands and things, and sometimes they are amazing. They deliver on like those notes, and sometimes you get it. Like I'm sure Azlan, you've had this before. You get this new, you hear about this hop, and like you talk to other brewers, like, oh yeah, this hop's great, and you get it. It's just like doesn't hit. Like maybe you got a bad lot. Like who knows what it's going to be. I've heard of like.
I still haven't gone back on Laurel.
yeah. or like I've had it before. You do use it. It's great. You get it the next year, and it's like this isn't as good, and that happens a lot too.
It's very hard. I mean, even for the big ones, like speaking for the farmer-owned ones that I work for or with, is like. This year's Mackenzie is very different than last year's Mackenzie, and I think last year's Mackenzie was the one that was an outlier.
Right, and then maybe
we don't have the resources of one of the big private breeding programs, but like even the big private breeding programs, all the control they're able to exert and all the data they're able to manage, like they can't control Mother Nature.
No, yeah. Well, and I've at selection this year, just talking with our reps too. They're like, "Oh, this farm was really good last year," and then they're like, "This farm this year not as good." Just like, with farms, you're just trying to like get the perfect picking window for each varietal. You can't pick everything all the time at the same time, right? You got to like you're balancing what you can achieve in a harvest, right? Sometimes you nail it, sometimes you don't. So it's like there's a lot going on as well on that side of things, which is totally interesting. But I guess my one tip for other brewers is like try new hops, even if you don't like, just try it and then try it again. Like maybe if it's not like one harvest one time didn't hit for you, you're like, oh, this strata, like I didn't like it. It's like it's like never again.
We've got a selection of 10-liter corny kegs, and what we started doing is like at the same time we would dry hop our core IPA, we divert a portion of that and do a dosage rate, but we do it at 2 times the amount of that, just to like get a intense saturation. This is our core IPA, so we do it in I guess, economical dry hopping rate.
Yeah.
And then we just use these samples, and it's a great way for us to see what each hop is providing. I completely stole this from Mike Phoniak from Establishment Brewing.
Yeah.
And you're talking like terminal, like before kegging? Like obviously you're not fermenting out like 10 of these different varieties every time.
We dry hop usually like at around a half a degree Plato to degree Plato before terminal. So yeah, we kind of just like rack it into a little corny keg, run these little dry hop trials, and then we can do that as sensory, and it like helps us a lot for just giving a chance to see what a variety is doing before committing to putting it in a recipe down the road.
There's a lot of really neat ways that people explore hops beyond rubbing them. Rubbing a hop is a terrible way to understand a hop. You know, it's like, does it smell good in the field? Like from a breeding perspective, like, does it smell good in the field? Like, well, it probably should. Does it smell good in the pellet? Does it smell good hot side? Does it smell good cold side? Like, you almost have to have all those things, because like even if one of those things is true, if it smells good enough, that hop deserves market.
A usage point.
Yeah, and it's like, well, boy, it is sort of on brewers to some extent to do that, because if you're brewing a brewer who's thinking critically about this, like, you know, a marketer's going to tell you their hops are good. Like, they're not going to tell you they're bad, and like hopefully your marketer knows what good or bad is, and at least, you know, if it's good, great, or special, that's separate. But like, they can't sell you bad. They shouldn't be selling you any bad hops. Like, it should at least be good. You can make great beer with good hops. And it's just like this piece of like, how much do you take on, and how much do you trust suppliers? And I think that's like a differentiating and competitive advantage point for brewers.
Yeah. So as we come to a close here, Eric, when you're not working with hops, how do you like to recharge? Do you still enjoy a pint in the same way, or
No, it's definitely not the same anymore. I like to drink beer that people who I like have made, or people who I like have enjoyed previous beers have made. That is like the biggest influencer of like, do I choose this beer? And then for hoppy styles, it's like I don't need another big name 3-hop IPA. Like, I mean, I've had a lot of those. We've all had a lot of those. I've had some of the best expressions of Citra in a can, and it's like, yours isn't that. Like, what are the chances yours is that? And like, the chances are low enough that I'm not going to buy it, or like have my like half a beer I drink on average a day like be it. Like, I'll just dump it out. Like, I dump out so much beer now, because partly it's just like a flavor exercise, and then partly it's like I don't like being drunk. So it is very different now.
Yeah. What do you do outside of beer?
Grow hops, grow flowers, and have my little farm, and have a day job, and
nice.
Especially, you know, these days in hop is really nice. That my personal and my family's like livelihood is not on hops. It's a terrible time to be in hops or hop sales or whatever, and I'm really lucky to have a couple different clients and some platform that allows me to talk about and try to have the impact I want to have in hops without that being tied to like my family's livelihood. Because look, if this was tied to my family's livelihood, I'd have to be on here telling you all about how great hops that you already buy are, because that's what most brewers buy. And I would be scared about saying things about, you know, why people should buy more public or diversify their proprietary or whatever, because that could be construed as like something that would be hurtful to my employer. It's just a tough time in hops. It's like everybody's circling the wagons and like protecting what's theirs and trying to maintain as much as they can until, you know, hopefully things get better. So yeah, I'm very lucky.
Yeah. So if people want to keep up to date on that, recommend check out your Substack. You send out that hop notes.
It's been a while, because I do actually also farm, so I haven't sent out a newsletter, written a new newsletter, which is just the news word for blog. Like, it's just a blog. It's a new word for blog.
Yeah.
I have a blog where I write about hops. I try to do once a month, but in the summer sometimes I don't prioritize it. I'm working on for
that's probably good.
Come out in October. It's going to be really fun, like kind of philosophical. I had a lot of really great conversations with different people in hops last week when I was out at Harvest, and a lot of exploration of like big picture things there. Yeah, so Hop Notes is what that is called, and it is fiercely or maybe too independent, depending on how you might ask in the industry. Like, to the point of here's the line of truth and here's the industry line. I am pushing on the line of truth in the way that I feel like is speaking truth to power, because power's truth is way over here and it's not the truth. And then also still respecting that like there are multiple ways to operate and exist in this space. Even if I were a farmer, I were a seller, I would operate differently. That's Hop Notes. And then, you know, my Instagram is like semi-personal, semi-business. Like that's just Eric. Like I posted a ridiculous, silly little reel today with Celine Dion's "My Heart Will Go On" about the brewers who came out to harvest, because it's just like, let's have fun. Like hops have this like little serious thing going on right now because there's so much money and power to be had at like being good at selling them, that like everything has to be the next big thing and everything is like rock and roll background, like very like dye coated, like, you know, maybe manosphere coated, and
for
it's like
Canadian brewers, I'm sure having Celine will you know, you've got the Queen singing.
Yeah, exactly.
So you asked me an open-ended question, I give you an open-ended answer. I'm really glad and intentionally am in a as third party as I can be in this space, so I can share more or less what Eric thinks and what Eric sees, versus when I've worked for other companies, everything we do is the best thing in the world, and it's like, that's not true, man. Like, that's not true. Nobody has all of the best hops. That's not how it works.
Well, it's been refreshing chatting with you, and you have a unique perspective, which is great. That's what Azlan and I love to talk to people about, right? And so I appreciate you doing this with us. We'll link the Substack or your blog, the Hop Notes, when we release this episode, so people can find it. But yeah, thanks for doing this with us. And then we'll post your Instagram as well, how people get in touch with you, find the best public, or, you know, source their own hops thoughtfully, I would say, not just going off of a brochure that they got emailed to them. You know, not that's bad, but, you know, maybe just taking the next level, taking the extra step is good. Thanks everyone for listening to this podcast. If you want to support the work that Azlan and I are doing, you can also buy our beer, Main Street Brewing beer, using a lot of proprietary and publicly sourced hops, as well as my own beer at Yellow Dog Brewing and Neighborhood Brewing with the same mixture as well. And thanks everyone for listening. You can let people know about upcoming episodes, and we'll let you know as well on Instagram. That's all I can think of off the top of my head. I should really have a script for this, you know. It's organic. Anything
Makes
else,
it natural.
Azlan?
Nah, I think that's everything. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, thanks. It was fun chatting hops with you guys. Until next time, cheers.
Cheers.